What if the biggest myth in coaching, and that myth is that a life coach gives amazing advice and solves problems, is actually hiding coaching's real superpower? Now, there is a common misconception that coaches are somehow life experts. And from the perspective of a potential client who has a problem that they want to fix, finding someone who can give them that exact path forward makes a ton of sense. However, when coaches start their marketing pitch with describing the mechanics of coaching or talk about how coaches are trained to ask questions and lead clients to their own solutions, it often causes more confusion than answers questions. It can lead to unrealistic expectations that people are expecting, okay, a coach is going to give me advice. Or for some, when they start asking themselves questions like, why would I pay someone to tell me what to do? Or why would I pay for someone just to simply ask me questions? They may dismiss coaching as unnecessary. But understanding this myth about advice giving and the reality of pursuing a growth agenda, which is a superpower, this unlocks that superpower both for you and your clients. In this video, we're going to cover 3 different parts. Part 1 is define the superpower. Part 2, explore why this growth agenda works. And Part 3, how expert coaches approach problems. Part 1, define the superpower. Coaching's superpower, and really what the profession is optimized to do, it's optimized to help clients discover and clarify insights that spark meaningful, positive change. In essence, you are helping clients define their growth agenda. And it's precisely this transformative superpower that sets a trained and certified coach apart from the untrained or the self-proclaimed coaches. And now this concept, it combines 3 related, closely related but different elements. And those are a perspective, an opportunity, and an insight. First, the perspective. The perspective that a trained and certified coach will take is that you as a client, the client is naturally creative, resourceful, and brilliant. And as a coach, the proper perspective on this is that you become their student. It's almost like you become the student of your client. You are approaching your client as if they are the expert in their own life. It's like going to an art museum. When you go to an art museum, you don't go to an art museum with your pen and your eraser, like trying to fix all the things, thinking that, okay, this is like, look at this Picasso. I need to go in and, change this thing. Or look at this Frida Kahlo. Can you believe that this thing is so messy here? Let me just fix that. You don't do that. You don't do that when you go to an art museum. And yet when you're talking to, a coach, if a coach were to come in and say, oh, let's fix this. Well, these are all the things you need to do. Or, have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Let's try this thing out. That just feels like fixie mode, and no one really likes fixie mode. Fixie mode feels negative. We'll get to why in a minute here. But instead, as a coach, if you approach your client and say, you know what you most need to do. You are the expert in your life, and I'm just going to ask you some really interesting questions to help go for those insights. Well, that is the coaching process. And that leads to the second thing on this, which is insights. As a coach, you are not trying to pursue solutions. You're just not. What you're doing is you're holding space. You're holding space and you're asking really interesting questions and you're listening really deeply so you can ask even more interesting questions. And all of those questions are designed to help your client have an insight about themselves in the context of the situation so that they can come up with some action step that feels inspired. And at its best, these action steps test the strength of the insight. And now this goes to the third thing, which is an opportunity. And here the shift is looking at a problem instead of a problem that just needs to go away as quickly as possible. It's looking at a problem as an opportunity. And it's an opportunity, it's a gateway for exploration. And as a coach, if you're curious about what insights emerge when these challenges happen, that is your job. Your job is to meet what clients usually do, which is we judge ourselves, we create stories about how we're not enough, we go into all these excuse-making mode, the regret train gets started, all those kinds of things. Your job as a coach is to take that, listen to that, not judge it yourself, but instead meet that with compassion and curiosity. And when you meet people's like vulnerabilities, where they're talking about themselves, and you meet that with a sense of, let me just see you as a human. Let me just connect with you on a human level and really think about what it's like to be you, but not from a standpoint of what needs to be fixed, but from a standpoint of, I trust your brilliance. I trust you got this. What's really here, clients are naturally buoyant. They will naturally rise to the occasion and have these insights that not just solve this one area of their life, this one challenge, but that start to have a ripple effect and have an impact on all the areas of their life, because the client, you, people, the human, is always the center of the life. And so instead of diving straight into problem-solving mode, a skilled coach focuses on developing the whole person. And this is not just a subtle shift, although it feels like that at times, but it is a complete reframe that unlocks coaching's tremendous potential. So when you coach the client, you start to develop their capacity. I just did a video on hope theory that I'll drop here in a little bit. It talks about the idea of agency. You're basically helping your clients develop their agency. You're also helping them uncover patterns and beliefs that created the problem in the first place. And then you tap into their inner wisdom rather than external solutions on what they know that they most need to do. And this creates that lasting transformation instead of a temporary fix. So let's go and take another deeper dive here into why exploring the growth agenda works. Two main reasons. The first and the most powerful reason is the meta message. When someone presents a problem to you and you immediately offer solutions, the underlying message is, you can't figure this out. You need my advice. You are not enough. And this explains why people often resist suggestions. They've usually already considered them, and it just feels negative. And this is exactly why, because the message is, oh, you don't trust me? You don't think I know what I'm doing here? And that just doesn't feel good. So when you approach challenges instead with the meta message of, you got this. I trust you got this, but before this problem goes away, let's explore it. Let's at least look at it. Let's at least do things that can squeeze the juice out of this situation before it dissolves. So challenges in this case, they become a way for you to help clients. When you sit with them as a coach and they bring a challenge to you, and you don't try to solve it right away, that meta message, they get that. Clients understand that. And the second reason, and I've touched on this a little bit before, is what you're doing as a coach, why this works so well, is that you are taking out that idea of judgment and you're replacing it with curiosity. You're taking out regret. You're replacing it with compassion. It is a subtle transformation shift that when you as a coach really just sit there and listen, and you're more after the insight and the learning rather than the fix it and the to-do, clients feel that. It just feels really good. And those are the two major reasons why this, approaching clients, coaching the client, not the problem, really, truly works. So how to do it? 4 steps. First, develop awareness. You can recognize the distinction between problem solving and growth agendas and notice when you slip into fix-it mode. It's okay. You can slip right back into growth agenda mode. These kind of questions like, what are you learning about yourself? How is this situation growing you? What strength do you need? I'm skipping ahead to number 4, which is have a series of questions in your back pocket to use, but it really does help. Having just this simple awareness, what you're doing right now, watching this video, it just puts you so far down the path of becoming an amazing coach. The second thing is to shift your perspective. You keep asking yourself, am I trying to fix the problem or am I exploring my client's internal world? You will feel a difference in your body. You will feel a difference in the session when you are in fix-it mode. It feels angsty. It feels like I'm almost having a tug of war with my client, thinking, have you tried this? Oh, I've tried this. I haven't tried that. Have you done that? Haven't done that. It almost feels like you are inviting some sort of argument of whether or not you want your client to take your advice. And so when you really shift out of that fix-it mode perspective, it starts to feel airy. Even a challenge or problem itself feels like an invitation to explore. This is the proper perspective to be in when you're working with the client. Number 3, you are looking at a problem as a starting point. And when you look at this as not, and fixing it isn't even the destination, but what you're really looking at is, this is the starting point. This is how I'm going to approach this problem, like an opportunity here for growth. And when you start to do that, let's look at what patterns emerge. Let's look at your client's agency. Let's look at the way that your client is thinking about themselves and the stories they're making up about themselves. Those are really interesting things to look at. And so you're doing well as a coach when a client presents a problem to you and your first thought isn't, ooh, we got to solve this. But your first thought is, ooh, we get to explore this. And in fact, I almost want to make this problem even more acute temporarily, just so we can have a better insight from the exploration. And then you get to a point number 4 is when you have a few questions that you can ask yourself. And you only need a couple of these. And I mentioned them in step 1 because they're just right there. The first one is, what are you learning about yourself? By far one of my favorite questions. I feel like at this point it's a signature question I ask in almost all my coaching sessions. It just is a lovely question to have. If you don't have anything immediately that comes to mind when you're listening to your client, it's always a great go-to. The second one is, what character trait or strength do you want to lean into? Again, you can ask this at almost any point in time. A lovely question. And the third one you might want to have is, from a bird's eye view, what do you notice? Bird's eye view questions are lovely. They take you up in the sky. You're looking at things from a larger standpoint. You're shaking up perspectives a little bit. And it's really helpful to have a couple of these questions, in your back pocket as you're, coaching and learning the coaching process. And it allows you to listen more deeply to your client. You listen more deeply. You have more curious questions. If you have more curious questions, you're able to have more, your client gives you more to work with. And that's that upward cycle that you're really looking for when you're starting out as a coach. So that's it. That is coach the client, not the problem. Thank you so much for watching these videos. Liking the videos, your comments, all those things. It means a lot. Thank you for engaging with this material. I hope to see you soon with some more content.